One thing I want to truly remind you of, and it's pretty simple when it comes to today's episode of the Operational League series, is that you did not lose the money. You actually gave it away. For a little at a time in most cases, for free. And you called it good service. Every quick favor, every sure, I can add that, every extra revision you didn't charge for, each one felt too small to actually mention, right? But when you added it up, there are the reasons you are working more and actually keeping less. Today, on the Operational Leak series, we are talking about the scope creep leak, how unpaid work keeps slipping into the paid delivery and quietly eating your profit alive. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Danette Moss, business growth and operations expert, also known as the strategy lady. I collaborate with consultants and service-based business owners to simplify, automate, systematize, and streamline their operations. That's 4 steps that actually spell SaaS. And I do this so that they can stop drowning in the back end and build businesses that run on rinse and repeat systems. Here is what this leak looks like. You agreed to do a specific thing for a specific price. That was the deal. Clear enough on day one, right? Then the work started. Can you just tweak this one thing? That's what they told you. You said, sure. What do you think ended up happening, right? Even the scenario where you were actually in the middle of something and, maybe coaching them live on it, and they asked you for another tweak, and you, of course, did it again. You said, of course. Just one more small change, they said. You said, no problem. Can you hop on a quick call to walk me through it, please? You said, I'm happy to. Every single request on its own is small, reasonable, and easy to say yes to. And that is exactly why it works on you that way, right? Because listen, no single favor feels like it's a big enough thing for you to push back. So you never actually do. You just absorb it again and again and again until you look up and you realize you are doing 40% more work than you actually agreed to for the exact same amount of money. Y'all, that's the scope creep. That's the scope creep leak. And it does not happen because your clients are bad people. Most of them are not even doing it on purpose. It happens because you never set boundaries around what the price actually covers. So there is nothing to stop that extra from sliding in. Here is why this one is actually a sneaky one, right? It creeps up on you. Scope creep does not arrive as one big obvious ask that you would clearly say no to. And I was guilty of allowing it to creep in on me, hence the reason I felt I needed to talk to you about this. Listen, it arrives as 100 tiny type of yeses, little tiny quick ones. Each one is so small that says, or it's not really saying, that it feels kind of ridiculous. And you sit there like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm being petty or being nitpicky, or I don't want them to feel like I'm nickel and diming them. But listen, every 5 minutes, every creep in can you do and change this just adds more time on your plate. You might be thinking, oh, it's just a quick 5-minute thing. Why would I make this thing a big deal? I don't want to make my client feel weird. You can't do that. You can't do it. You just keep saying yes. And then you feel good about it because you feel like you're being helpful. You're being easy to work with, and you're actually being generous, right? But we know, y'all, that generosity with no boundaries is not generosity anymore. It's not. It's a leak. It's one of those leaks I've been talking to you all about. And the client learns very quickly that the price that you quoted is not really the price. It is a starting point. Everything after that is free if they keep asking. I'll just ask. I know she'll do it. Let me show you what this actually costs. Okay? Listen, it's costing you money directly. Every paid hour is an hour you could have spent on paying work or actually rest. People that are paying you, that's what you need to be doing on. Or you need to be resting. You quoted a price based on a scope, but then you delivered a bigger scope for the same price. You keep letting them creep in and ask you different things and to do different things. Your actual effective rate literally just dropped, and you are the only one who did not agree to it, at least up front, right? It's costing you your actual best clients respect, in my opinion. You didn't think that, right? But strangely enough, you really are. When everything is free for the asking, your work starts to feel free. And then people value what has a firm price and a firm boundary, but because you hadn't done that, they are just creeping in. And then you're wondering why things are not going the way that you need it to go. They're getting what they want to get to you for free. They're not valuing it because you don't value it. The consultant who holds the line is respected more, not less, when you establish those boundaries and you stick to what the agreement was. When you don't do this, it's literally costing you capacity. All that unpaid extra work is filling hours that you actually needed for the paying clients, for growth, for your own, listen, life and your business. Scope creep does not just cost money. It eats away the time that you cannot get back. And it actually literally costs you resentment. Have you ever been in that situation where you begin to be like, oh, I can't stand this. I don't want to do this work or this work for this person anymore. And that's the quiet thing. You actually caused it because you allowed it to creep in. Now you got this resentment. You start to feel used up, right? But you allow them to use you. You start to dread that client who always has just one more thing, please. And that resentment actually leaks into the relationship, into your delivery, into how you feel about your own business. Unpaid work, listen, unpaid work does not just cost dollars. It costs you peace of mind. It really does. So let's fix the leak. Let's fix it. Here's the SaaS fix. First, we need to simplify as always. Let's get crystal clear for yourself on what your price is actually, or what is actually covered in the price. Write it down. I've been talking about this. I always say write the vision, you make it plain, right? Write it down, the exact deliverables, the number of revisions, the number of calls. You cannot hold a boundary you have never actually defined. You got to write it down. Most scope creep happens because the scope was fuzzy from the start. Second, we're going to systematize. And I always remind you all that, yes, we talk about the SaaS framework, simplify, automate, systematize, and streamline. But sometimes automation does not come. Some of these four don't come in a necessary order. So we move next to systemization. So we're going to systematize. Put that scope in writing in front of the client before the work actually begins. Your proposal, your agreement should say plainly, here is what is included. Here is what's not. This is not you actually being difficult. This is you being clear. And clarity actually protects the relationship because now nobody is guessing. We all are on the same page. Third, now we begin to automate, okay? You want to build a simple, ready to go response for when the extra requests come in because they're going to come in. I promise you, they're going to come in. A quick, I'd love to do that. It falls outside our current scope, okay? Just say it. I'd really love to do it, but that falls outside of our current scope. So here's what it would look like if I add to it, right? When you have that response, when you got it ready in advance, you don't have to invent it. You don't have to feel flustered in the moment. Don't let them get you there. The system makes the boundaries easy to hold. So when you automate that, life is so much more easier. Fourth, it's time to streamline. Create that one clear path. Create it, okay? Create one clear path for the out of scope requests. Not a wall, a path. Clear, right? You can possibly say something like, that's a great idea. Let's add that as a phase 2. Or I can do that, but here's the additional investment. You got to say this, y'all. The goal is not to say no to everything. It's really not. But it is to make sure that that additional work, that it comes with an additional pay. Every time you put in the work. It's not time to do things like that for free because you're giving it your all. Here's some action steps, okay? The action step, I may say sometimes I'm going to give you the basic one and maybe different things that you can do with it. But here's your action step this week. Think about your current clients. And for each one, ask yourself, am I doing anything for this client right now that is not in what we originally agreed to? Ask yourself that question. Right? Is this something that you hadn't agreed to and that you're not actually getting paid for? You got to ask yourself that question. Be honest. Count it. The extra calls, the bonus revisions, the quick favors that stop being quick because you want to do it with a spirit of excellence. So now you all in. Then I want you to pick one, just one, okay? And this week, go ahead and address it. Not with an apology, but with clarity. I want to make sure I keep giving you my best work is something you can say to them. So going forward, here's how we'll handle requests outside of our original scope, outside of our original agreement. That's just one way that you can state it. Listen, that one conversation is the beginning of a boundary. And the first one is always the hardest in some cases. But I'm going to tell you, it gets easier every time after. It really does. I promise you it will. I've been guilty of it, feeling weird, not knowing which way to go. But I had to start protecting my time, setting those necessary boundaries, and not allowing people to keep dipping in and adding more work, or me feeling like, oh, if I just do this real quick, hey, it's going to show them that I really know what I'm doing. And I mentioned earlier, in most cases they don't know, but let me just kind of give you a little tip. Some cases they do. And if they know you're going to keep doing it, they keep playing that game because you keep falling in it. So it's time for you to identify this thing and put it in its proper perspective. But if you look at the clients, I tell you this every week, And you realize that almost every single one has creeped past the original scope, that you have not written boundaries for anywhere. And that unpaid work actually has literally baked into how you run your business in every single project. I would like to possibly say, or maybe say, I don't think it's a major problem of you feeling like, hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose clients. And I don't think it's the fact that you actually have bad clients either. I think that it's really, now we get back to the client journey, client success piece, right? This is more or less a client success infrastructure gap. You got a gap and you need to diagnose it. If you are unsure of where to start, this is exactly where the Simplify the Scale operational audit can assist you. When we audit you, you get your operational score across all 4 pillars, a complete gap analysis, and a prioritized roadmap for what to build first. And we deliver it to you in 24 hours. But as always, I tell you on a weekly basis, first things first right here. We'd love to help you. The gap is open. We do have some open for this week. But I want you to take advantage of this information that I'm giving you. Take the first step today. That simple step. Find the unpaid work. Pick one and go ahead and set the boundary. Set the boundary. Now, here's a question that I want to leave you with as we wrap this up. If you added up every unpaid hour you gave away this month and you put your rate next to it, how much did you pay out of your own pocket? If I stood up, I got pockets, to do the work that you were never paid for? How much? Ask yourself that question. Because being generous is not the problem. Being generous with no boundaries is what's bleeding you. You are allowed to be paid for your work. All of it. You hear me? All of it. That is how you protect your profit and your peace. You got to do it. That is how you put your business on rinse and repeat. And of course, you know I got to tell you this. That is how you get your SaaS on in your business. This is Danette Moss, business growth and operations strategist, aka the strategy lady over at Let's Talk Strategies and Digital CEO Systems. Thanks so much for joining me here for episode 11 of the Operational Leak series, the Scope Creep Leak. If you're listening to this on replay, go ahead and put #replay, ask your questions in there. I'll be answering them myself. I'm looking forward to you joining me every Tuesday, 12ish. We're usually here, unless we run into some type of tech issues, but generally we're here. Please make sure you share this with your business bestie. Everyone needs to hear this because scope creep is real. Until next time, take care.